Now I'm going to go to Kim Darroch, former ambassador to the US, recently published rather brilliant memoirs, Collateral Damage, sort of lifting the lid on the madness in the Trump White House. And I want to remind you that you were sort of pushed out the door as ambassador when those cables were released. I think one of your sort of prediction, you thought that the Trump presidency might well end up, I think, in disgrace was your word. Well, it's sort of worse than that, isn't it? I mean, tonight, as you may know, the impeachment vote has been carried. What do you make of that?
I mean, thanks for reminding me about the events which now feel a bit like ancient history. I wrote that letter, Robert, in July 2017, just 6 months into the Trump presidency. And, you know, it didn't feel like a risky prediction that the presidency was likely to end in disgrace, because if you just watched the first 6 months of that presidency unfold, all the signs were there. And there were many more milestones on the way to those terrible events in the Capitol, which kind of confirmed that judgment. I'm not surprised about the House of Representatives' decision to impeach. I think in the last hour or so it's been passed. There is a comfortable, 20, 30 votes, Democrat majority in the House. Their decision is about whether to launch impeachment or not. It's for the Senate to decide whether, as it were, to convict or not. And I think the Democrats under Nancy Pelosi were always going to launch impeachment for two reasons. One, that they think that what Trump did in inciting that march on the Capitol shouldn't go without punishment. And second, it provides the option to the Senate, if the Senate wants to take it, to ban Trump from running in 2024. And, that's a reasonable thing, I think, certainly for Democrats to want to see happen.
Now, in just a couple of minutes after the break, I'm going to ask you whether or not that, if he were impeached, that would stop him having a very good chance of winning the presidency again. So stay with us, all of you, because the man who knows is going to tell us whether this is the beginning of Trump or the end of Trump. See you in a second. Welcome back. I'm delighted that Kim Darroch, distinguished former ambassador to Washington, is still with me. So, Kim, I was talking to you about how the House of Representatives has voted to impeach Donald Trump. If in the end the Senate were to, as you say, also vote in that direction as the sort of jury of the whole thing, would that finish off Trump?
Well, it's complicated, Robert, and I don't claim to be a complete expert on this, but as I understand it, first of all, the Senate process may not take place for a few months because it can't happen, I think, before Joe Biden's inauguration, and Biden may then want to take his first, say, 100 days to get all his appointments through and to deal with his real priorities. So this may not all happen until rather later in the year. Second, it's not automatic, as I understand it, that being impeached, being convicted, as it were, would rule out a Trump run for the presidency in 2024, but it would be up to the Senate if they wanted to add that provision to the articles of impeachment to do that. And as I understand it, they only need a simple majority for that to happen. And of course, post-inauguration, it'll be 50-50 Democrat Republicans with Kamala Harris having the casting vote. So there is a Democrat majority in effect of one. So that's how I think it can unfold. But first of all, remember, you need 17 Republicans to vote for impeachment. And Mitch McConnell, there are reports Mitch McConnell now favours impeachment, but that still leaves quite a lot of people to go.
But just to be clear, if he were impeached, would the Republican Party have to ditch him at that point, in your view?
Well, I think that is up to them. I don't think this is written down anywhere. I think it's up to the Republicans and whether they themselves as a party could somehow disqualify him from the primaries for 2024? I don't know, I'm afraid. But for the Senate to block him for 2024,
sure,
it needs a separate decision by the Senate.
No, I get that. Now, you were sort of hung out to dry, some would say, by Boris Johnson during the leadership campaign, when after the great leak of your cables, he refused to say whether or not you should remain as ambassador. What's your own view? Do you think Boris Johnson has been damaged by being seen to be rather too close to Donald Trump?
I think, Robert, that any British Prime Minister would want to have a good, the best possible relationship with an American president. So I don't think one can be critical of a Prime Minister for aspiring to that. I do think, however, as I've said publicly a couple of times, that in a rather kind of, I may call it this, a rather Johnsonian way, he went a bit beyond what he needed to do. And he said some things about Donald Trump over the last couple of years that don't sit very well now. He said he had many, many good qualities. He said in a speech to American diplomats that he was making America great again. And he said at one point that Donald Trump had as much claim to a Nobel Prize as Barack Obama did. Add to that, and unlike his predecessor, Theresa May, he and his cabinet were rigorous in avoiding any criticism at any point of the American president, although some pretty appalling things happened over the last couple of years. So I think that Biden is an arch pragmatist. I think the American administration will need to work with us over the next year on the G7 summit, which we're hosting, on the big climate change conference, COP26, which I think we're hosting in November. But I think somewhere down the line, there may be a price to pay for just being a little too obsequious towards this particular American president.
Kim, I'm going to come back to you in a minute. We've got a little bit of breaking news from Anushka.
Yeah, I'm just showing you some stuff about the impeachment vote. Here, Josh Dorsey from the Washington Post has the final numbers, 232 to 197. That means 10 Republicans voted in favour of impeachment, the most bipartisan vote for impeachment ever, I believe. There's a real sense of history. Lots of tweets like this. The gavel has fallen. An extraordinary week, an extraordinary moment. And just, you know, Amtrak Joe Biden travels on the Amtrak to DC. Suggestion now, because of all the possible trouble that is going to happen, that he's no longer going to do that after doing it for decades since his first wife passed away. Robert.
Kim, so very briefly, you wrote those now notorious cables about Trump. If you were writing cables about Joe Biden, what would they say?
I think they would say that he faces huge challenges, that America is deeply, deeply divided, that it's going to take time and some really brilliant politics to start to heal those divisions, but that if anyone is going to be capable of it, this man with 50 years in American politics, with a reputation for working across the aisle and building alliances with the Republicans, might just have the qualities to do it.